Welcome, everyone. This is Elsie Kerns, your Overwhelm Warrior, and tonight Pam Younghans is going to talk to us about her upcoming webinar, May 12th, and what we can expect to experience from May through August. So, Pam, you mentioned that we are beginning the season of eclipses. Can you talk about that and explain what you mean by that? Because we seem to have from your writing some very powerful events upcoming.
Yes, thank you, Elsie. So yeah, my different astrologers look at eclipse season in different ways. Our first actual eclipse is a total lunar eclipse, which is a full moon. So in my mind, eclipse season starts with the new moon before the full moon, because that's a part of that lunar cycle. So in my mind, we've got an eclipse season starting with the new moon, which is May 11th, the total lunar eclipse, which is also a super moon. So it's going to be, I think it is the closest full moon to the Earth this year. And it's also an eclipse, and it's also a total eclipse. And all of those things, all of those words that I just loaded on there, magnify the energies that are associated with this event. And then on the other side of it, we'll then have a solar eclipse, just an annular eclipse. It's not a total eclipse, but a solar eclipse on June 11th. But that starts a whole new cycle because it's a new moon. So to me, then the eclipse cycle lasts until the new moon in July. So it's really kind of a 2-month window of time. And we can tend to feel during eclipse season, we can tend to feel like life is almost surreal, like it's just otherworldly in some way. Now, because we've all been feeling that anyway these days, it feels like that's almost consistent, like we're almost always in eclipse season, but especially what I call eclipse season, which will be starting with the May 11th new moon and going to the July, and I don't know the date, probably around the 11th, the July new moon. So does that make sense?
Yes, very exciting. I was also curious, there's a Jupiter, Uranus, and you called it a quintile. But I was fascinated by the number of famous people that had this in their birth chart.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an aspect of creativity. And evidently it can be used for good or evil, because it's both in charts of really famous creative people like Jane Austen and Mark Twain and even Walt Disney. So there's a long list of very creative minds that have this quintile in their charts, or more than one in their charts. So it's said to be, the ability to come up with innovative ideas, but to bring those innovative ideas into form in some way. So it's not just out there, it's actually a creative process that manifests. And you don't have to have quintiles in your chart to be creative. And there are some people who have quintiles in their chart who feel like they're not creative, but they do tend to be in these charts of, now we know a whole bunch of famous people who do have plenty of them. So Albert Einstein, mathematician John Nash, who is in the movie Beautiful Mind, he has a lot of quintiles in his chart. But look at this, so does Adolf Hitler. So and I'm reading a quote from Rob Hand, who's a great astrologer, but it's the power and ability to turn creative inspiration into something concrete. But like I said in the journal today, it takes spiritual maturity to actually use that in a healthy way. The aspect itself is neither good nor bad, but it's kind of compelling in a way. So it can, in a negative sense, be about using power in a negative way. But in a positive sense, it's about using creative power and inspiration in a really productive, clearly admirable way. So we do have this Jupiter-Uranus quintile. It's exact this week on Tuesday. And when I say an aspect is exact, it's when the two planets are at the precise degree, when that aspect is exact. So we get the energy building to the point of exactness and then falling away. But this is a very important one because it's going to happen twice more in 2021. I can't remember the exact date. You can check my journal. It's in July, but then again, December 23rd. So it's a long-term influence with times when it's stronger. And I feel that it's very much can be used in very creative ways to help us with the big questions that are before us. So Uranus is in Taurus, so we can say, wow, maybe this is going to help us come up with the creative solutions that we need to handle the environmental issues. And I think we see it already. So many, car manufacturers and other people whose products tend to pollute are really putting markers out there in the future. Granted, they're far out, but there's a lot of change that needs to be made. But I hear it a lot that this company or that company is implementing change now that's going to help the environment in some way. I've even heard about airlines starting to look at electric airplanes, which would be huge because air traffic is one of the greatest polluters. So those are the kinds of things that I think in a positive way, the Jupiter-Uranus quintile can really assist us. So it's exact for the first time this week. So being open to creative inspiration, each of us individually, even if we don't own a corporation that creates cars or something like that, but just to feel into that energy and let it inspire us in some way. I think that can be pretty powerful.
I would agree. And I would also like to ask, this webinar is called Riding the Rapids. What inspired that title?
Well, a couple of things. Time just seems to be moving more and more quickly. I think that is one of the, call it results, consequences, whatever you want to call it, of the Saturn-Uranus square. Saturn is Father Time, methodical, all of that, counting the minutes, counting the hours. Uranus, it spins on its side. It does things in really odd ways. It's electric. It changes things. It speeds them up. It's got a lot of nervous energy. So I think this Saturn-Uranus square that we're working with this year is really also kind of disrupting our sense of time. And so time seems to be moving faster. So when we talk about riding the rapids, that was one of my first impressions too. But there is a personal experience from my life, and I've told this in another webinar, of how I made it on a whitewater trip in a little inflatable kayak. And it was those three things. It was focus and finesse and fluidity that allowed me to go through these really churning rapids, and I never got dumped. Of course, my great story is that my boyfriend, who tried to power his way through, kept tipping over and got dumped several times. But it's that whole idea of making it through the rapids. We have to keep our focus. We need to stay fluid and we need to use finesse. So I'm going to talk more about that in the class, but that's where the title and the little subtitle came from.
Great. And I know that you also mentioned that Jupiter is entering Pisces this month. So how is that going to play for us?
So this is actually, not everything is perfect. It's not like we wake up in the morning and there's rainbows everywhere and, magical worlds have opened up. However, that is part of what Jupiter is about. Jupiter originally, before we discovered Neptune, Jupiter was actually the ruler of Pisces. So they're very much in sync. Jupiter is this huge planet. It expands whatever it touches. And Pisces is this sign of spiritual growth, compassion, understanding, all of those qualities we define, I'm going to put it in air quotes, as being spiritual. And so Jupiter is going to come in and make all of that potentially larger for us. So it can be a great time for spiritual growth, spiritual expansion. Also, there's a very creative side of Pisces. Pisces rules musicians and poets and, dancers. Think again, that kind of fluidity. And so there can be an expansion of the arts too. And it's just, again, don't want to oversell it because we have to be realistic, but I'm excited about it. And Jupiter will go into Pisces for a while, then it goes retrograde, comes back out, goes back into Aquarius, then goes into Pisces again towards the end of the year, I believe. Sorry, I don't have the dates. But we'll talk about all that in the class. And yeah, personally, I feel good about it. I feel it's going to be good for meditation, for opening up to kind of the cosmos, and for helping people connect through the heart. Pisces really rules the high heart. And that's where we are in this place of oneness with all. So that's Jupiter in Pisces in a nutshell.
Thank you. So I just want to say again, the webinar is just 2 weeks away, really.
10 days. 10 days.
Wednesday, May the 12th, 7 to 8:15. And the link, I'm going to put the link below here, ridingtherapids.eventbrite.com, but you'll have that link to click on and join us. It'll be recorded live on Zoom, and you'll have the recording, calendars, the slideshow. It's going to be a great night. So I hope that you plan to join us. So Pam, tell us a little bit more about what you are going to reveal, and again, reminding everyone what that link is.
Sure. So we are going to talk about, the energies May through August. We're certainly going to talk a lot about the eclipses in May and June. And then I'm going to spend some time talking about the fixed star Sirius. So Sirius is the brightest star in our heavens. And in esoteric astrology, it carries a lot of weight, we'll say. And so I'm going to talk about that because every year from sometime in June through early August, Sirius rises with the sun. And so it's hidden behind the brightness of the sun for several weeks. But that also means that as the sun's rays come toward us, it's also bringing to us the energy of Sirius. And Sirius has some wonderful qualities that we'll talk about. So that's one of the little teasers that I'll give you. And what we'll do is I'll start with a short overview of the main players, the Saturn-Uranus square, the Pluto-Eris square. And if you don't know astrology, don't worry about it. I'm going to explain everything in real English. So don't worry about that if you don't have training in astrology. And then we're going to spend a good amount of time going through calendars month by month. So you'll get the calendars, you'll get printed. Elsie sends out calendars before the class so that you have those to print out and you can take notes on them. And they list the aspects I'll be talking about. And we'll go through all of those, week by week, and talk about the highlights. And Elsie likes that I put little symbols on it on the days that are kind of going to be more exciting for one reason or another. So you'll have that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We're in such an exciting time of our evolution as a species. It's really unprecedented. So I hope everybody joins us because I'm looking forward to it.
I am also. So again, everyone, that's May the 12th, Wednesday, May 12th, 7 p.m. That's Eastern Daylight Time. It'll be 4 p.m. for Pam. And all the details I'm going to put below right here so that you can come and join us. Pam, thank you so much. Challenging evening with some of this technology. We made it. Thank you.
Thank you for persisting.
Yeah.